Hello, and welcome to the Star Power Cast, the definitive podcast for the game of Star Power Baseball, a game for generations where your fantasy baseball comes to life on the tabletop. We'll also discuss the history of baseball and just the present state of the game itself. I'm Gentrovo, the baseball nerd, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Cincinnati Dennis. We hope you all enjoy the show. Hello there.
We're back.
It's my Obi-Wan Kenobi reference there, if anybody caught that. Super nerd. Hey, man, we've been gone for a while. It's been about a month since we've done a podcast. How you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Oh, me too. So we are here at the Star Power Cast doing episode, I think it's 5.
Episode 5.
Yes, and we're going to talk about a few things today that are relevant to today and yesterday, just like any form of conversation always is. And what you been doing lately?
Making cards after cards after cards after cards, watching the news in baseball, seeing everything that's going on, and getting ready for spring training in less than a month.
Wow. You know, I've been doing the exact opposite. As people might be able to attest to that. I got to a point of playing the game that I needed to take some time off a little bit. So I've been taking about 3 weeks off of the game, making cards, playing the game, that type of stuff. I'm a multifaceted guy. You know, I need different stimulants, right? So I have baseball, I have my board gaming hobby, I have my miniature gaming hobby, I have music. So I have a lot of things going on. I have kids, I have family. There's a lot of stuff. So every now and then I got to take some time off. So like for the past 3 weeks, I haven't really been doing too much about or anything to do with baseball. But today I really want to talk about this game because I love it and it's really precious to me. So today what we're going to talk about is, so by the way, if you're new to the podcast, I'm Gentrovo, the baseball nerd, and my patriot here is
Cincinnati Dan.
Yes, and we are a combo that's been around as long as I've been alive.
Exactly right.
And today we're going to deliver you some news. We're going to talk about a baseball legend, a baseball great, a baseball personality that you have to know if you want to consider yourself a true baseball enthusiast. And finally, or maybe not finally, we're going to talk about an important thing of the game, in our game, Star Power Baseball, the ground ball.
There it is. And that's one of the most important aspects of our game, fielding ground balls.
Right. I mean, when you talk to people and you're like, hey, today I'm going to do a podcast on the ground ball.
I'm so excited. I am so pumped up.
People are like, okay, sure. Anyway, we're going to talk about the ground ball later on in the episode. And if we get to it, I might discuss some World Series teams. If we get to it, we'll see what happens. But let's talk about some news first. So in the news, let's start off this show with some free agency talk, right? So we're in the middle of January. We're recording this podcast on the 24th of January of 2021. And right now there are some teams making some major moves to try to push themselves to get a championship this next year. So let's start off with the Blue Jays. They just signed George Springer. Right?
They did. They just signed a center fielder.
What do you think about that signing?
I think that George Springer beefs their team up and allows them to sign some pitching now because now their hitting is complete.
They got Hyunjin Ryu last year.
Yes.
Right. You know, here's the thing with me. I think the Blue Jays have no shot. I think they will get into playoffs. They will have this great team and they have these great players, but they cannot get past the legacy of what is the Red Sox and the Yankees. And now the Rays are legitimately a team that can come up and just sneak up on you.
And they gave it all away again this year. They gave it all away. They have no more starting pitching, but then they have all the starting pitching. So you don't know. They do it every year.
I think the one player you need to watch out for the Blue Jays next year is Kevin Biggio.
Biggio's going to be really good. I'll tell you what else I think about the Blue Jays. If they're going to do it, it's now. The Rays have gotten rid of their starting rotation, pretty much decimated it.
Yeah.
The Yankees are hurt and down, and they haven't signed any big boys yet. And the Red Sox suck.
They made a couple signings today.
The Red Sox suck.
Okay, they're not good.
And I'm telling you guys in Boston land, and you know that I'm speaking the truth. You guys are in a major rebuild right now, and you're in a tear down mode. And I feel for you because I'm a Reds fan.
Yeah, they're not good right now. The Yankees got. Did you see who the Yankees got today?
Who the Yankees get today?
The Yankees got Jamison Tyone.
Okay. Yeah,
So
pitcher.
they got him from the Pirates.
Yes.
For about 3 or 4 prospects.
Just had didn't play last year because of Tommy John.
Right.
Second Tommy John,
Right.
I believe.
But now that matches up like former teammates Garrett Cole and Jamison Tyone.
There you go.
So hey, we'll see how that happens. Speaking of the Rays and them moving players, let's go to the Padres. The Padres look like they're totally retooling their team in regards to their pitching staff.
Well, they're high-paid Tampa Rays.
Yes. And like getting high caliber players, Yu Darvish and Blake Snell. And
Got it, yeah.
Like, but here's my thing with that. Like, you think back to the World Series in 2020, where Blake Snell's on the hill and they pull him after he's already gone through 2 times to the lineup, and the manager of the Rays says, "Hey, he can't do well during the 3rd round of the lineup." Like, how are the Padres going to run this pitching staff? Do they need a primo bullpen for this? Because Yu Darvish, I think, is the same way, where Yu Darvish gets about 2 times through the lineup and then they yank him.
We'll have to see what they do down there. You just know that San Diego's trying to beat the Dodgers. They're doing everything they can to beat the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are so loaded.
Absolutely. But like, I'm liking the moves the Padres are making.
I do too, and they're a fun team to watch.
They are a super fun team to watch because they got that young talent. They signed great free agents. They got Fernando Tatis Jr. They got Eric Hosmer over there. They got Manny Machado. Like, they are a super fun team to watch.
They are. And I think that they just gave Tommy Pham some money.
Did they?
I think so.
I don't know. They also signed a Korean player as well, who's supposed to be named Kim. I don't know what his first name is, but like they signed a new Korean player that's supposed to be really good too. So Padres look good. 2 more teams. I'm going to save one for last. White Sox. The White Sox look like they're building a team. They just picked up a closer, Liam Hendricks. I think that's going to put them in a position to dominate that league if the Twins can't be that good.
And that's all. They have to beat the Twins. It's kind of like when you're running from a bear and there's 2 of you. I don't have to run faster than the bear. I just have to run faster than you do. And that's basically what the White Sox are trying to do to the Twins.
Yeah.
They don't have to beat everybody. They just have to beat the Twins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going after it the right way.
Yeah, because
they look scary.
You have the Indians are kind of falling off. The Royals they every 25 years or so the Royals come up.
There you go.
Yeah, the White Sox look good, man. Last team, and if I'm missing one of your teams, I apologize, but I want to talk about the Mets.
The Mets have spent a lot of money. They got new ownership. And I've had, good grief, I bet I have 8 or 10 guys out there that call me on a regular basis. And I've had them ask, "What do you think about the Mets? What do you think about the Mets? What do I think about the Mets?" I think the guy's got deep pockets and he's not afraid to dig into it, but they're the Mets.
Here's what I think about the Mets. As a Yankees fan, if the Yankees are in it, I'm going to root for the Mets. But
and Gabriel says you need to get that all-time Mets team done.
I know, Gabriel. I'm sorry. Here's my thing about the Mets, man. Like, they are where players kind of go to end their careers.
Players or players go to die.
Like,
not end their careers. They just never perform well out there.
I hate putting it that way. I don't think here's the new thing though. I don't think that's gonna be the case with Francisco Lindor.
Nor with George Springer. I think they're both going to have very good years this year, maybe one more. But the Mets window, believe it or not, those guys are not spring chickens, and the window is closing.
Yeah, DeGrom's got a few years left.
He does. And Thor should be back by the end of this year, by the middle to end of this year.
Yeah.
The Mets window is closing when you look at the Lindor. Lindor is a great player, probably the best shortstop out there, one of the top 3. But he's not Derek Jeter. He is Lindor. He is good. He is awesome, but I don't even know if he has a Hall of Fame career going on right now.
I don't think he has a Hall of Fame career going right now. He has to have another decade to go.
And they're hyping him as the second coming of Derek Jeter, and I'm not with the program.
He's a better fielder than Derek Jeter by far. Okay. His range factor is he's much better than Derek Jeter with the
Yes, he
glove.
is.
And with the bat, he can hit just as equally as Derek Jeter.
Anyway,
However,
the Indians,
they gave it up.
they gave it up.
They gave it up.
They gave up all that starting pitching. They're gone. I mean,
They also lost Carlos Carrasco, who went to the Mets. And
there you go.
Hey, Mets are making some moves. So
Mets are. They're spending money. They're going to be a very, very fun team to watch in the division with one of the best teams in baseball, the Atlanta Braves.
I also think Pete Alonso is going to have a major bounce back season.
I hope so. I want to use that 2018 card as much as a 2019 card as many times as I can.
Pete Alonso. All right, going from free agents, let's talk about the Hall of Fame.
Let's do it.
All right, the Hall of Fame vote is coming up this Tuesday. So we're recording this podcast on January 24th, 2021. And the releasing of the Hall of Fame voting comes out this Tuesday, the 26th.
3 p.m. Central, 26th. We'll
At
know.
this current time, I'm going to pull it up on my cool internet surfing device. At this time, there are 4 people that actually have a legitimate shot. Maybe 3 out of 4, I would take that get in the Hall of Fame. All right. Number 4 is Scott Rowland. And right now, with 41% of the ballots known, Scott Rowland's at 64.6%. Does he get in this year?
Not this year. He belongs, but he won't get in this year.
I think Scott Rowland should be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but he won't get in this year. I just don't see the trending going that high unless the people hate Bonds that much.
Well, okay. Well, speaking of which, Clemens and Bonds are 2 and 3. However, Bonds has taken a lead over Clemens this season. Like, this is the first time I've not seen them be exactly the same number on the voting track. So if you're wondering where I'm getting these statistics, and I want to give a shout out to this site. It's the Baseball Hall of Fame Vote Tracker website. I follow them on Twitter. It's Ryan Thibodeau, Anthony Calamus, Adam Dorr, and John DeVivo. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that the correct way. These guys do a wonderful job of getting votes in to try to show us how these vote trends are going. And right now, Roger Clemens stands at 71.3%, and Barry Bonds is at 72%. So did they get in?
Trends for the past 4 years has been the early votes have them up there and the late votes turn them out.
And see, this is what bothers me. So if we roughly get in 50% of these votes, are these other 50% of the voters hiding their vote, not putting this out there because they know they don't want to be ridiculed for their vote?
I don't know why they do it. I just know that Mike Piazza's in the Hall of Fame. I don't need to say anything else.
All right, the final player is Curt Schilling, and right now he's at 74.4%.
And about half of the people that voted for him want to retract their votes because Schilling is a radical.
Well, hey, that's another topic.
That's another topic. But I'm hoping somebody gets in. But my prediction for this year, nobody gets voted in the Hall of Fame this year.
I'm almost there with you.
And that's a real shame.
It is, but kind of not. If you think about the whole year of 2020 as a whole, right? That year was just, as us as an American people or worldwide people, it was a year that we kind of want to look at and just look at in retrospect and be rid of it. Right?
Yeah, let's just bring me down some more and not have any Hall of Famers get in there. Barry Bonds, you need to be in the Hall of Fame. You are a Hall of Famer.
But here's the deal. We didn't get to watch Derek Jeter get inducted into the Hall of Fame in the year 2020.
We will this year.
But we will this year, but we didn't get to watch it last year.
And it'll be a very, very limited number of people there because we're not getting rid of the masks by July.
Well, no, I mean, obviously. But it's just a shame that they didn't get to do that ceremony. But if nobody got in this year,
then we'd have Jeter and Walker.
I don't think it'd be a big deal. It's it just gets kind of pushed to the side.
I can live with that justification. I can live with that. Giving Jeter his moment in the sun because he deserves it.
Right. All right. So our third news topic today, we're going to talk about, again, this has been a tough year, 2020 going into 2021. We're going to talk about some deaths that have happened to some Hall of Famers and some players. We're going to focus on 3. All right. The first one we want to talk about is Tommy Lasorda.
Tommy Lasorda, what a personality ambassador for the game. He was fun to watch. The one moment that I remember most about Tommy Lasorda was in the World Series, and Reggie Jackson was running between first and second base. The Dodgers were leading 2-0, and Reggie Jackson's running between first and second, and he all of a sudden dances to the OJs and sticks the bump out there and gets the ball ricocheted into the outfield. Tommy comes out to argue this, and Tommy doesn't really know what to argue, but he knows he's got something. And he just continues on, and he loses. But that's the one thing I remember about Tommy Lasorda really, really well, is that, and then him falling over with the ground, with the bat coming at him as he's coaching third base.
So Tommy Lasorda was a manager when I was a kid. That was the super old guy.
Yeah.
And just like watching him win the '88 World Series, because that was one of the early World Series that I remember watching the dramatic home run from Gibson. And you know, I loved the A's at that time, and just like watching the Dodgers win that, I was like, oh. But like watching Tommy Lasorda run out there with his huge gut, just like throwing his arms in the air, and then I started studying Lasorda and be like, who is this guy? What's he done? And seeing that he was with this team for just 2 decades, like just a long time, and gaining this respect for this manager that just like, this is my team. I bleed Dodger blue. Like Tommy Lasorda you're right. He's an ambassador for the game. He's an ambassador for the Dodgers. You have to celebrate a character like Tommy Lasorda. One of my favorite things now too is like after he passed, like a lot of stuff started getting filtered out on Twitter and Facebook and everything about these old videos that Tommy Lasorda had. And one of my favorites was like him cursing out one of his pitchers during a playoff game. And I can't repeat the words on this podcast, but like if you can find this thing on YouTube or whatnot, it's like a 5-6 minute long video of him just like dropping F-bombs and just like going nuts on this pitcher. And and it was great. And the Tommy Lasorda memes that they put out there kind of remind me of the Bernie Sanders memes that are going on right now.
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty funny.
I loved Tommy Lasorda, and I was a Reds fan.
There you go. So R.I.P. Tommy Lasorda. The next one is also affiliated with the Dodgers, and it's one of the most underrated pitchers of all time, Don Sutton.
Totally agree with you about him being underrated. Every time I think about Don Sutton, I think about the Pete Rose interview, and they asked Pete Rose, what pitchers gave you the most trouble? And he said, I don't know about that, but I own Don Sutton. He said, I think I hit 590 against Don Sutton. Yeah, but Don Sutton beat the Reds like he owned them. Yeah. So Pete might have hit 590 against him, but Don Sutton beat him more than he lost. And Don Sutton was a guy. One thing about Don Sutton that you've got to respect is Don Sutton never backed down. He did not miss a day of work in 23 years, did not take a vacation, did not take a day off. He showed up every day for 23 years, never missed a start from his rookie season until he retired. No other pitcher in baseball can say that. So, any pitcher.
So I think I texted you the other day, and I said, Don Sutton from 1966 till 86, maybe, threw 200 innings a year, with the exception of 1 year.
The strike shortened.
And it was 1981, and it was the strike shortened season.
That's it.
Can you imagine?
Here's a guy that went to work.
21 seasons, 200 innings a season, or 20 seasons, whatever it is. Good grief. Nobody does that.
Never won 20 games.
Here's another cool stat I saw on Don Sutton. There was a number of games that he pitched where he lost the lead early, and it was only like a 2-0 or 1-0 or 3-1 ball game. And in those ball games, he was 0-98.
Wow.
Now imagine if the Dodgers actually scored enough runs, or the team that he played for scored enough runs for that. This guy might have had another 50 victories.
There you go. I mean, I'm a fan. The guy never won 20 games, and he still won 300.
Yeah.
Never won 20 games.
Yeah.
You know, he led the league in ERA once, led the league in innings pitched a couple of times, but never, ever won 20 ball games. Of course, Brian Kenny, we know that the win stat is far overrated, even though when I watched the 1971 All-Star game today, we were talking about Mike Cuellar being 13-1 at the All-Star break, but wins don't matter. Mike Cuellar had no responsibility. Never mind. That's another topic. Moving on.
I don't think he says that wins don't matter.
Moving on.
Okay. R.I.P. Don Sutton.
Don Sutton, I loved you.
What a great pitcher.
What a
great broadcaster.
Oh, he was, man. Tremendous broadcaster.
For the Braves for
years.
For
years and years.
Man. And sorry, like.
And the hair,
the
man.
Hair.
Come on, the hair.
Yeah.
You got to go with the hair.
World's best mullet. So, R.I.P. Don Sutton. Our final person, as everybody probably knows this is coming up, which is leads us to our second topic for the day. Or our first official topic, our second section. Hank Aaron, Henry Aaron, Hammerin Hank, who passed away on Friday. And I want to start the segment off where I got a text from you, I got a text from my friend Sean, and then I got a notification from MLB on my phone. And I was at work. I was not paying attention to the media or people at the time. I kind of walked over to my desk and looked at it, and I saw the notification, and instantaneously I looked up, and it was about maybe 9:30, 10 in the morning. And I gasped, and I kind of freaked out for a little bit. I didn't know what to think about it because I was in the middle of if you don't know there, I'm a teacher. I was in the middle of taking roll. I was like checking who's here and who's not. And being a good teacher, you always have to find those moments where, hey, I got to use this right now to teach these kids what's important in life. And so I took about 5 minutes when we started class to address it. I'm like, hey, I know you guys know I'm a big baseball fan. And I just want to let you know that, Hank Aaron, home run king, former home run king, just passed away. And some of half the kids were like, oh no. And then the other half were like, who are you talking about? Right. And so I felt it was my duty to kind of talk about it for a few minutes. But yes, Hank Aaron at 86 years old has left us, and it is sad. But death is a part of life, and we have to accept that. And so what we're going to do on the podcast today, we're going to talk about the life of Hank Aaron the best that we can, right? So starting off here, let's talk about the beginning of his career, right? Hank Aaron was from a place known as Mobile, Alabama. In the early 1950s, he got his start as a professional baseball player and was sent to the Indianapolis Clowns of the Negro Leagues. And here's the crazy thing about Hank Aaron. He was one of the last, and there's only two more, I think, to this day. He was one of the last surviving baseball people that both played in the Negro Leagues and in the major leagues. And so he played for the Indianapolis Clowns. And then finally in 1954, he got called up to the Milwaukee Braves at the time. So you were born in 1954.
Correct.
You watched this player play as a youth. So what are your thoughts on watching him play as a young kid in the day?
I didn't, in the 50s, I don't see him because I'm a young baby kid. I don't see anything like that. But I'll tell you this. My dad had season tickets to go to the Reds games when he was an insurance guy. And I would get the privilege of going with him when none of his coworkers would want to or none of his clients would want to. So I would get to go to the ballpark with my dad. And we went down there, and I'm going to say I was 10 or so years old. And I watched a fella named Jim Maloney pitch to Hank Aaron. Jim Maloney was about 8'4", about 400 pounds, and he was a mountain of a man, and he could throw 100 miles an hour. He was the fastest thrower in the National League. He was faster than Koufax, and I watched them both pitch. He was faster than Gibson. He threw as hard as Nolan Ryan. And he was facing Hank Aaron. My dad and I had seats along the first base line, about 5 rows up where his season tickets were, and we're watching Jim Maloney pitch to Hank Aaron. And Maloney is throwing 100 miles an hour. And Hank Aaron is fouling the ball down the third base line, pulling this ball foul. And I am in awe. I am a baseball player at the time. I'm 8, 10, 12 years old, whatever. I think I'm 10 or 12. and he is pulling 100-mile-an-hour fastball down the third base line, and it's not a little bit foul. It's going foul by 20 feet. He's early on all these fastballs, and I'm in awe because I know how hard it is to get around on a little league fastball for me, and this guy is pulling Jim Maloney, and I'm in awe of this. And he pulls about 5 or 6 right in a row down the third baseline. And he's just standing up there like it's business as usual. And finally, Maloney throws him another one. He lines it off the left center field wall for a double. That is what I remember about Hank Aaron, is he could get around. And then I heard the quote from him about 5 years ago. And he said when he batted, he always looked for the curveball because nobody could blow a fastball by him.
There you go. That's a great story. So in 1954, the year you were born, I will point that out again, he did not win Rookie of the Year. Do you know who won Rookie of the Year the year he was born?
No, I don't.
Is Wally Moon.
Wally Moon, former coach at John Brown University.
Wally Moon. Also in the same voting, who outranked Hank Aaron was Ernie Banks at number 3.
Ernie Banks.
Yeah. So Aaron was in the league a few years, and then finally, in 1957, he wins his first MVP, his only MVP, and wins the World Series. Goes back to the World Series in 1958, loses to the same Yankees team, and then for kind of the rest of his career, he doesn't really play on any pennant winners or whatnot, but he is a steadily consistent player. So what I want to talk about now, it's like, let's talk about his steady career, like how good this guy was, how good do you think Hank Aaron was compared to the rest of the league at the time?
What a tremendous question. Tony Perez gets into the Hall of Fame because every year Tony Perez hits 280, hits 25 home runs, and drives in 90 runs. Now, if you want to know how good Henry Aaron was, up that by 10%.
Yeah.
That's how good Aaron was. Aaron was that good. Now, you want to talk about the perspective that I had because I grew up during the Hank Aaron prime heyday. Hank's the best, this and that. He was never the best player. Hank Aaron was not even the marquee guy. Willie Mays outshined Hank Aaron. Mickey Mantle outshined Hank Aaron. Sandy Koufax outshined Hank Aaron until they retire, and Hank Aaron is still going strong.
Yeah.
Hank Aaron is still going strong. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Hank Aaron is chasing Babe Ruth's home run record. It took me by surprise. I'm like, this guy's not the big home run hitter. Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, these are the guys that are home run hitters. But Hammerin Hank was consistent every year, 30, 35, 40 bombs. Every year, 100 RBIs. He still holds the record. Every year. He still holds the record to this day of most RBIs for a career.
From 1955 until 1970, he never played below 145 games. He was out there. I mean, that's basically like he never missed over a week and a half in the season.
Going to work, man. The guy went to work.
Like, and we're talking about Iron Men, such as remember Don Sutton going to work. Like Hank Aaron is the epitome of that guy.
For seasons and seasons. And not only is he going to work, he is performing at the highest level.
Yeah. And not only is he performing at the highest level, right? He's performing at a level that they didn't statistically know was that high of level during that day.
Correct. When I was a kid, batting average was huge, and Hank Aaron didn't hit Tony Oliva numbers, and he didn't hit Rod Carew numbers, and he didn't hit the numbers that were the high bat. In fact, 1970, the All-Star, you had Rico Cardi was leading the league in batting.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Hank Aaron, consistent, never a superstar until he became a superstar.
He was a superstar.
Yeah.
No doubt about him being a superstar. But the steadiness of his career, let's talk about a few things here. Hank Aaron, he had over 3,000 hits. If you take away all of his home runs, he still has over 3,000 hits.
There you go. That's yes, indeed.
All right. So the thing I think that defines Hank Aaron's career is 715.
That is what he's most noted for. However, let's just put this into real perspective. Hank Aaron, great baseball player, one of the top baseball players of all time, but he was a really, really great guy.
Oh,
He was a person that nobody ever said a bad thing about except the idiots that didn't want him to break Babe Ruth's record.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that for a bit. Now, I told you this earlier before we started recording this, is that I listened to the podcast with Joe Posnanski, and he was talking with Bob Kendrick. And the amount of atrociousness that Hank Aaron went through when he was doing that home run chase was unbelievable. It haunted him for the rest of his life. And when he was going through the 715 chase, his family could not be there with him. They had to be in hiding because they had to hide from death threats and from assassination threats. Because Hank Aaron grew up through the assassination of John F. Kennedy. He grew up through the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., right? And Malcolm X or whoever else. He knew that the death threats that he was getting during this home run chase and his family was getting through this home run chase were legitimate and real.
And not only that, he's playing in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. And that haunted him for the rest of his life. Like I read a thing where everybody was either, if you were like most people should have been celebrating that. Actually, the majority of people were celebrating this when it happened. Like there were the chosen few that were just being idiots. However, when this happened for Hank Aaron, he told Dusty Baker that he was just relieved that it was over. And it was like the 715 chase was just done because of what it did to him. And he spent the next 2 decades or 3 decades of his life or so kind of going through that horror, going through that pain, and being an ambassador of the game and trying to show that like the game is better than sometimes what it shows you to be, right? And that's why I think Hank Aaron is such an important figure, is that not only did he break these records, not only was he a lasting figure, not only was he just a great player of the game, he showed you for the next 40 years of your life, hey, since I had this greatness bestowed upon me and I was this person, what I got to do now with the rest of my life is go through and show people that this is still a great game in itself.
We loved Hank Aaron. Even as a kid, I enjoyed Hank Aaron, but he was, never was my favorite player. I mean, I liked Frank Robinson far more than I liked Hank Aaron,
right?
Because I'm a Reds fan, and when you would debate the issue of who the best player is, Hank Aaron didn't even come up in the conversation. It was, is Willie Mays the best player, or is Mickey Mantle, or is Frank Robinson, or is Sandy Koufax? And then the longevity keeps going, and now we look back, and without a doubt, Hank Aaron's one of the top 5 baseball players of all time.
Absolutely. I got a lot of flack. I just want to say I got a lot of flack a year or 2 ago whenever I did my top 10 right fielders of all time. And I put Hank Aaron as number 1. And people just came at me and were like, how can you not pick Roberto Clemente? How can you not do that? And I was just kind of like, well, I mean, it's not just all about defense, and that's one thing that Aaron gets kind of ranked lower on his legacy is defense.
He only won 3 Gold Gloves.
That, and one thing that I heard Bob Kendrick say, which I loved, is that Hank Aaron made it look easy. So sometimes it might have looked like he was loafing, but he was just really good at what he did.
Yes. I watched him in person more than once at Crosley Field. I saw the guy play and never was impressed. Never, unless that one time when he was batting against Jim Maloney. That made you're talking about almost 60 years ago, 55 years ago that I saw this, and I can visualize this today like I'm watching it happen now. Yeah. That made such an impression on me.
Yes. And so when we speak of his records, he was the home run king with 755, got ousted by Barry Bonds. That's another topic for another day, right? He will never be topped in total bases, I think. Like the next person is like 700 away. Not even close. RBI record, like there's nobody that's going to have the longevity to pull out that many number of RBIs. It's just not going to happen. The way they interface lineups today and stuff, it's just not going to happen. Right? And the way players look for contracts, it's just not going to work.
23 All-Star games, I believe.
Yeah. Like Hank Aaron. We need, like, one day when I do my top 100 players of all time, I'm debating on whether putting this guy number 1 or not. But I mean, I know he's top 5.
I agree. Top 5. Yeah. No doubt about it.
But I want to say rest in peace, Hank Aaron. The world loves you. America loves you. Thank you for being thank you for being such a great person. And also thank you for giving your life to the game of baseball. That's what he did, man. He was
exactly
all about he was all about the game. He was all about this great pastime that we have. So we want to pay tribute to Hank Aaron. So I thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next topic today, and it is going to be in a star power baseball format. We're going to talk about the ground ball in our game.
There you go. In star power baseball, you have a lot of pitchers that induce ground balls, especially your old-timey pitchers, your dead ball pitchers, and people want these guys. I play regularly against 2 or 3 people, and they're always pulling the Ed Walshes and the Eddie Josses and the Christy Mathewson and the old Hoss Radburns out on me, and they're hitting ground ball, ground ball, ground ball, ground ball. So we need to discuss about how ground balls work in star power baseball.
All right, so let's start this off with the basics, right? So the pitcher spins a G. What do you do?
Ground ball anywhere. That's what that is. A G by a pitcher is a ground ball somewhere to the infield. Okay? That's what that is. Now, move on to the next thing. We'll get into what happens after that, after we determine that now we spin the batter. Pitcher spins a B or something, we spin the batter.
Right. So the batter spins a 2. What do we do?
This will be a ground ball that is to his power side, or what we call a pulled ground ball. A right-hander will hit it to the left side of the infield. A left-hander will hit it to the right side of the infield. And we'll get into location in a minute.
Sweet. And then a batter hits a 6. What's the result there?
This will be a ground ball up the middle, either to the second baseman or shortstop, to be determined, and we'll show you how to do that.
And finally, a ground ball with a number 12.
2, 6, and 12 are ground balls, and 12 is a ground ball to the opposite or to the weak side of a hitter. A right-hander hits it to the first base side, the right side. A left-hander hits it to the shortstop side or the left side of the infield.
All right, so those are the basics of what a ground ball does. So where do you want to go from here? What do you want to talk about next?
What we want to do first is determine, after you spin a ground ball, what is happening? Well, with nobody on base and you spin a ground ball, generally on the easy and the simplified rules of the game, the batter is out. However, we had a Zoom meeting last year with people that wanted, and more people called in, and more people wrote me, and more people emailed me and said, we want something to happen, or the possibility of something to happen. If the ground ball is an out with nobody on base, we want there to be a possibility of an error. And so now there is.
Yeah.
You spin a ground ball with a pitcher, a G with a pitcher. That's a ground ball anywhere. You spin a 2, a 6, a 12 with the batter with nobody on base. The first thing you do is spin the ground ball card.
Yes. And if it lands on the E, that means an error has occurred.
Correct.
And then you spin the outside of the disc again to see which infielder created the error.
We spin the center. Now, there are 2 parts to a card, and they're not discs, they're cards. There is the information side of the card, and then there is the result side of the card. The result part of the card is divided into pieces of pie. The information part of the card is either on the back of the card or in the center of the card, telling you what is going on. The middle ring of the infield card has 4 segments, 4 pieces of pie on there: shortstop, second, third, and first base. This will determine who fields the ball or whom played the miscue. And if you do spin an error on the ground ball card, and you're spinning that to determine who made the error, Any time that the spin on the second circle, which is divided into 4 parts, lands on the line, it's an error on the pitcher. It's that simple. So if you spin a G with the pitcher and it's a ground ball anywhere and it lands on second base,
it's an error on the second baseman.
if you spin a 12 with a right-handed batter and it lands on shortstop, it's an opposite field. Now we get into where does the ball go?
Okay, here we go. And this is where I want to start. So let's start with right-handed hitters. If I'm a right-handed hitter, let's say that I am Frank Thomas. Okay, I am Frank Thomas. I spin a 12, and that is an opposite field ground ball.
So it'll either have to be fielded by the first baseman or the second baseman.
So I spin the location first, I spin it, and we're just going with no runners on base, right? The first thing I do is when I spin it, if it lands on
the E,
then it's an error. But if it doesn't land on the E, then anything else that you just take for what it gets, right? So if it lands on second base, it's a ground ball to second base. If it lands on the first base, it's a ground ball to first base. But if you're spinning a 12 with a righty, if you spin it on the shortstop, it goes to the second base. If you spin it on the third base, it goes to first base.
And if you'll look at your ground ball cards with us, if you have them around, you will see that second base and shortstop are much larger segments of the pie than first and third base. Second base and shortstop are considered middle infielders. When the ball is hit to a middle infielder opposite, then you will go to the fielder that is the middle infielder that is appropriate on that particular play.
Yes. So and it's the exact opposite for a left-handed batter. So if I have Barry Bonds up to bat and I spin a 12, it's going to go either to the third base or the shortstop. So if I spin the shortstop disc or shortstop card or section on the shortstop, it's going to go shortstop. Or if I spin second base, it's going to go shortstop. If I spin third or first, it's going to go to the third baseman.
Third and first baseman are called corner infielders, okay? Corner infielders will be the same way as middle infielders, only at the corner. So like you said, if Barry Bonds hits a 12, opposite ground ball to either third or short, and it lands on the first base, that's a corner infielder, so it will be fielded by the corner infielder on his opposite side or the third baseman.
Right. So there are several outer letters on this disc. They are the D, the E, the A, and the F, right? The D stands for a double play. The E stands for an error. The A stands for runners advance, but the batter that hit the ground ball is out. The F stands for force out.
Force out at middle base, not at third.
Right, at the middle base.
At the middle base.
Yeah, and that's one thing that people have to get used to. So, for example, if you have runners on first and second, and your batter grounds into an out, and he grounds into an F, right? The runner on second base will go to third. The runner on first base will be forced out at second, and the runner that hit the ball will be safe at first.
That's that simple. It is that simple, okay? It's that simple to do that. That is basically the ground ball card. Now, there's a few more little things that we need to just quickly jump into. You got a runner on first, and you get the ground ball card. You have to determine location, where the ground ball goes. You have to determine what happens there, either D, E, A, F, and that is done on the card by the fielding rating most of the time of the fielder. We usually use percentage and range, and the card lands on a fielding rating, say a P2 or a P3. The fielder must either equal or exceed the result that the spinner points.
For example, if my shortstop is Derek Jeter lifetime is a P5 shortstop, okay? And I spin the disc, it goes to the shortstop, and then I spin it again to see what the rating, what's going to be the result. And it lands in between the D and the E in the top left of the card. If it lands on the P4, Derek Jeter is a P5. And so since he meets or exceeds that, the infielder, the defensive team, gets to select the result. So he either gets the D or the E And since the defense wants the better result, he would pick the D for the double play as opposed to the error.
Suppose that you had it going, though, to a different shortstop like Buddy Biancalana, who's a P3, and you landed on the P4. Now who gets to choose the result?
So the result is then chosen by the offense. So if the defensive player cannot meet the requirement, that means the offense gets to choose the result of the card.
One of the things that I had in mind when I created these outfield and infield cards is that all the places on the card, on the outside result area of the card, are white except the true results. The true results are made in a color. So basically, any time that the spin lands on a colored result, it's that result. When it lands on a white result, then the winner gets to choose the colored result.
Yeah. So that is kind of the basic information for the ground ball card. I mean, that it is what it is. Like, you have to spin it a few times to learn it. So let's get into a little bit more depth here with this ground ball card.
Let's just go to we talked about forcing it with a runner on first.
Right.
Let's go to something that happens in every game.
You have to
happens.
position your defense.
We're going to go before we go there. We're going to say that there is now a runner on second base and nowhere else.
Okay.
Merely a runner on second base. Any time that the ball is hit to the right side of the infield,
second or first base,
this runner will advance to third unless the spin
is a D.
Only if it's a D. If it lands on the E, we have an error.
But it has to land directly on the D.
Directly on it. If it lands white, he advances. If it lands white, the runner will advance. If it's a pulled ground ball, or let's just say a ground
ball, goes to the short of third base.
Go to the shorter third. The only time the runner will advance is if it lands on the A. Okay? So that makes the gameplay very, very simple, and it makes it go very quickly. Remember that just on second base alone. No first and second, no second and third, merely on first base.
Right. So, one
thing I'd like you to go over real quick instead of positioning the defense.
Okay.
Go over a ground ball up the middle.
Okay.
This is a Gentry rule, by the way.
I made this rule because this is I kind of like to call it the Derek Jeter rule, right? So back in the day when people were really getting on to Derek Jeter and his defensive capabilities, I was just like, but he's such a good fielder. But then you start looking at the numbers of like, oh, but his range is bad. How do we actually incorporate that into our game? And so what we figured out is that the R on the infielder's discs is the amount of balls or outs they actually get to on average per 9 innings, right? So when you see a fielder that has an R rating, that's based on the number of plays on league average that they actually make on an average game. So for example, if a player is an R5, that's the absolute best. That means they make more plays during a game on average and outs during a game better than any major leaguer. If you see an R1, that means they are at the bottom. And so what we did to kind of incorporate this into the game, we decided when a batter card spins the number 6, this is a midfield ground ball. If it goes, it will go to the second baseman or the shortstop. If that second baseman or shortstop, let's say if it lands on the shortstop, if your shortstop is an R1, that 6 now counts as a base hit.
To center field.
Yes, and the same thing for second base, which counts as a base hit to center field. Right?
So any ball up the middle that turns into a base hit will only turn in. Now, again, it must land exactly on that middle infielder that is rated R1.
It has to land on exactly the second base of the shortstop section of the ground ball card.
We know that a 6 is a ground ball up the middle, and if it lands on first base, that it's fielded by the second baseman.
Right.
This will not be a base hit if your second baseman is R1, only if it lands on his respective piece of the pie.
Right. So if it lands on the third base or the first first base part and that counts as second or shortstop, we're not going to, that doesn't count. That doesn't matter. Okay. The 6 has to be directly on the second or the shortstop.
And this will make you realize why players like Louis Aparicio and Ozzie Smith cost a lot of points.
Yeah. And when you see an R1 or R1 shortstop or second baseman out there, you better double check what you're going to use them for, because sometimes it might not do anything in the game, but sometimes you might have a game where you give up 3 or 4 hits because your shortstop or second baseman does not have the range.
And that's happened to us
plenty of times.
Yeah. Very good. I like that. That's a rule that Gentry did make a few years back that added flavor and spice to the game. And it's come to haunt us quite a few times.
Quite a few. So the next thing is positioning. So when you have to face the batter, more than often than not, on a normal batter, you really don't have to position your defense in a way of like trying to affect like if he's going to bunt or whatever.
One thing that we always do at the very beginning of any at-bat is we announce the batter, okay? Right. For example, I say, I've got Babe Ruth, he's a sack 0, bats left, and he's a 1-2. That means that he's a 1-runner with 2 ability. Bats left, sack 0. What I'm telling you is you don't have to position your defense to stop the bunt. After I announce my batter, though, because now I'm going to bring up Ty Cobb. And Ty Cobb is a sack 3, bats left, 55 plus. Now, all of a sudden, your defense might change. Why? Because Ty Cobb just may want to lay a drag bunt down.
Yep. So on the ground ball disc itself, right, if you want to bring your third baseman in, right, you're going to have an advantage of trying to stop him from drag bunting. However, you might run a risk of him slapping a hit past your third baseman. And here's how this works, right? So if I bring my third baseman in, if I position my third baseman in to protect from the bunt, if I'm playing a left-handed batter, and let's say he spins a 12, if he spins that 12, we know that is the opposite field that he hits it to. He hits it to the shortstop at the third base. If the left-handed batter, while the third baseman is in, spins a 12 and it lands directly on the third base section of the ground ball card, it is a base hit and it gets past the third baseman.
If it lands there when we determine location.
Yes.
Okay? Not when we determine result. We are determining location.
And that's what you determine first.
That's what you determine first. You must determine the location of the batted ball.
Right.
And if it lands on the fielder that is in, and you can only bring in your corner infielders, that is the only ones that we permit you to bring in to prevent the bunt, is the corner infielders. If you bring them in and the ball is hit to one of them and it lands directly on their spot,
right,
it's a base hit.
That also can't, like, so if it's a right-handed batter, and you bring the third baseman in, and that right-handed batter spins a 2, which is a pulled ground ball, and it lands on third base, it's a base hit. If you have a left-handed batter, again, and he spins a 2 and spins it to the first baseman, and the first baseman is in, it's a base hit.
So this is a very advanced way to play this game. Gentry and I have been playing this now for over 15 years, this particular way to play.
Yeah.
And it works very, very well, and it keeps your defense honest so that you think, well, am I going to put him in now or not? Also, your first baseman is always considered to be in if he's holding a runner on base.
Right. He's always in. So
he's always in.
Now, so you got to watch when you hold runners on, or because if you're holding runners on, you're giving up a possibility to give a base hit away.
There it is. Yeah. Right. I mean, you're holding a runner on, and Bob Horner is up, a dead pull hitter, but for some reason he hits a 12, and you spin the location infield card and it lands on first base. Bob Horner just singled to right field.
Yeah. And that's another reason that the newer cards that we're making these days, we're making them more accurate and we're making them more justified to exactly where these players hit the ball according to the stats that were given. Right.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah. So that's kind of the basics of the ground ball today. And I think that might about do it for our show. I just kind of want to end things quickly here, with a project that I've been working on for the past decade. I've been working on this project since 2011, December 2011. and it's called the World Series All-Time Tournament, right? So a lot of people out there right now are discovering that we have these all-time teams. Right?
Not the all-time
Not
teams.
all-
Baseball's greatest
Baseball's
teams.
greatest teams. And I just want to throw this out there. I've been working on these teams for a decade and been trying to get them all down. I've suffered through 2 computer crashes with this stuff, right? We've gone through a couple iterations with the game, so we've had to remake some cards. But for the past decade, I've been making all these teams to try to determine who the greatest World Series team is of all time. And right now, in 2021, I am finally to my final 32 teams.
And started out with
256.
256 teams.
I not just 256. I also did a redemption round to where the teams that lost that I thought that should still have a chance in the tournament, I gave them a separate wing of tournament to kind of get them back in there. So like the 61 Yankees, they got ousted in the first round. I gave them a redemption round and now they're back in.
Yankees fan would do that.
Yeah, I know.
A Yankees fan would
All
do
right,
that.
so here we go. So I have 32 teams. I just want to give you like kind of a rundown of who was left on these teams. We have 11 Yankee teams left, which is 1/3 of the field, which that's to be expected. I know I'm a Yankee fan, but any baseball fan can admit the majority of teams that are in the top 100 teams of all time, there's going to be at least 30% that are Yankees. It's just a fact. All right, I have 4 Dodger teams, 3 Cubs, 3 Giants, 3 Reds, 2 Athletics, and then I have 1 Cardinal, 1 Brave, 1 Twin, 1 Ranger, 1 Philly, and then 1 White Sox team. So a few weeks ago, I went over my teams with you of like, hey, who do you think number 1 is, right?
Right. You went over these with me and you got my predictions of what would happen.
I'm not going to give you the top 32. That's too long because I need to end the show here. I'm going to give you the top 10 teams here. Okay. So coming at number 10, we have the 1970 Reds. They are ranked number 10 currently.
And by the way, all these teams that Gentry will be mentioning, or almost all of them, I think there are still 2 or 3 he still needs to send me. They are available for you for $5 a pop.
Right. And then coming at number 9, 1939 Yankees, which we've played a game online before. Number 8 is 1929 Athletics. Number 7 is the 2018 Dodgers. Number 6 is the 2016 Cubs. Number 5 is the 1961 Yankees. Number 4 is the 2009 Yankees. Number 3 is the 2017 Dodgers. Like these later Dodger teams are just so good.
They're loaded.
Yeah. So number 2, again, 2 Yankees teams. And this number 2, it surprised me. Number 2 is 1978 Yankees. And number 1, obviously, you know the answer.
The 27 Yankees.
Absolutely.
And that's out of all of our sets that we sell, that's the number 1 seller. Everybody wants that Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Murderer's Row.
Their run differential right now in my tournament is absolutely insane. Now any team could lose.
Though, I'll tell you this about that 27 Yankees team, and everybody that wants it, they want Murderer's Row. They had the best pitching staff of the 20s.
Their pitching's deadly.
Their pitching is amazing.
It is so good.
And that's why they win.
Yes, obviously. Anyway, those are the top 10 teams. I'll talk about this more in the future. So we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for listening. Again, we're going to say rest in peace to the great Hank Aaron and Tommy Lasorda and Don Sutton. And thank you guys for tuning in and playing some Star Power Baseball with us.
Shout out. Got to give a shout out.
Go ahead.
Okay. Fella down in Kentucky. Okay. Mike Blankenship down in Kentucky sent me.
Isn't that up from us? We're like in Arkansas.
Okay. Over in Kentucky. Mike is a diehard Yankees fan in Reds territory. And Mike sent me.
Good for you, Mike.
Way to go, Mike. And Mike sent me a song that he had written 35, 40 years ago. And I got to just put a plug out to Mike and say, baseball, hot dogs, daddy and me, brother.
There you go. All right. You guys take care. We're Star Power Cast. Until next time.